on the game. That was the Cowboys. It was 1996, January of 1996. Chad Brown does join us right now on the Farm Bureau guest line. An all-pro linebacker with the Pittsburgh Steelers and other teams in the NFL. He also was a national champion at the University of Colorado, not part of that 1990 national championship team. Chad, thanks for some of your time this afternoon.
Thanks for having me on. I certainly appreciate it.
Absolutely. You'll have to forgive me. As I was reading about you and kind of some of your background, there was one thing that stood out more than anything else. It's not the fact that you played in the Super Bowl or you won a national championship. It is this love of reptiles that goes all the way back to the time that you were in college at the University of Colorado there in Boulder. Tell me more about this infatuation with reptiles, snakes in particular.
Well, I grew up in the hillsides of Southern California, so in my backyard, I caught snakes and lizards and turtles and frogs and all those kind of things. So the fascination has been there since I was a child. And then I'm going to date myself here. Before the Crocodile Hunter, there was Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom.
Yes.
I used to watch that show with Marlon Perkins. So he would, go all around the world and capture lions in Africa and anacondas in South America. So one of my favorite shows as a kid. And then my parents got me a subscription to National Geographic when I was 7 years old. And to be able to be in my little bedroom in Altadena, California, but to be transported into the jungles of Sri Lanka and look at a Sri Lankan temple viper in a photo on National Geographic, that really just kind of spurred that interest. So once I got into college, University of Colorado, I got my first snake. I met a friend who ends up being a lifelong friend at a local pet store there in Boulder. He invited me to his home. He was breeding snakes in his spare bedroom and in his basement and selling those babies all across the country, in some cases all around the world. So at that point, I started picking up more reptiles and became a reptile breeder and was selling my babies each spring and summer to students on campus and to the local pet stores. And then once I got into the NFL and had some money in my pocket, I built a reptile breeding business called Pro Exotics Reptiles. And for a while there, we were one of the largest reptile breeders on the planet, and we produced several thousand baby reptiles every year.
Wow. You never know what is going to stoke the imagination and then turn it into a hobby and then a business as well. Do you still have pet snakes?
I've got about 25 reptiles in my collection, which I know most people would say that's an amazing number. Of course, for a guy who once upon a time had thousands and thousands of reptiles, I got about 25. I got a couple of breeding projects I'm still working on. Some things. I actually was on a trip to Indonesia about 25 years ago, and I helped discover a new species of python. And so I am working with that species, trying to be the first private collector in the U.S. to breed that species. So, yeah, I'm still involved in the hobby in a few different ways, and I certainly have my animal shipping company, Ship Your Reptiles, Ship Your Aquatics, where I help folks in those hobbies ship their animals around the country.
I applaud your success, but if you'll forgive me, I'm not going to give you my address. I don't need you to ship one of those to me. I could ask you questions about this all day long, but it's not the reason that we had you on. We had on you to talk about this Super Bowl, and the thing that I'm most curious about. So they're on Thursday of game week. There's been a week and a half since the last time these guys played. I don't think there was a week off between the conference championship game and the Super Bowl when you were playing. What are these guys doing at this point? Have they gotten past all of the ticket requests and family obligations, and are they able to, at this point, really lock in?
I think starting tomorrow is when that kind of final lock-in process happens. Okay. They got to town. They had to do the media night circus and do all that ridiculousness, and so you get caught up into that. Now, the teams are both staying out in Henderson, which is about 25 minutes away from the Strip. So they're a little sequestered away from the craziness down here on the Strip. But I think the best coaches find ways to keep their teams engaged throughout the week. If you install the entire game plan before you leave your home city, then the players are going to sit in meetings bored because you're going over the same thing over and over and over, which they've probably been doing all season long. So I had a conversation with Bill Cowher a few years back about his approach to it all, and he talked about holding something back from the install standpoint, from the game planning standpoint, to have something new in the meetings every day once you got to the host city. So it could be a trick play on offense. It could be a new blitz on defense. It could be a fake on special teams. But something to get the guys engaged. Get something looking forward to practice where it's not just the same thing over and over and over again. Because you can kind of wear people down if you don't re-engage them from a mental standpoint, and it just becomes repetition after repetition. And then I think the other thing is, with that extended time between games, sometimes coaches can do a little paralysis by over-analysis and start watching games from a few years ago and start diving too deep. You know what? These teams have played some good teams in the playoffs. Take a look at those games. Glean as much information from there as you can. But to go back to the Kansas City loss to the Lions in week 1 of this season, I think you can drive yourself crazy if you go too far down that kind of rabbit hole.
Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is the headline-grabbing quarterback in this matchup. But the numbers for Brock Purdy, I mean, not just efficient, but really, really good. I love what Christian McCaffrey brings to the table for San Francisco. I love what that defense brings to the table. But I keep looking at the spread on this game, and I see San Francisco favored, and I'm like, I don't know that betting against Patrick Mahomes is the best plan. Are you surprised at all that San Francisco is the favorite in this game?
I am a little bit, particularly how uneven they finished the regular season and how uneven they played in those 2 playoff games. I know Kansas City had a very uneven regular season, but they did the very rare thing where they were able to flip the switch once the playoffs started. That's very hard for a team to do. But when you've got the championship pedigree that Kansas City has, or when you played in 6 consecutive AFC championship games that Kansas City has, it's a very rare thing for a team to be able to pull off, but they were able to pull it off. They're playing their best ball now after kind of stumbling their way through most of the regular season. Wide receiver room left a lot to be desired. Travis Kelce disappeared for long stretches. Patrick Mahomes trying to adapt himself to yet a new style of offense with, Tyreek Hill being gone and all those kinds of things. So I am a bit surprised with that, because I think I don't understand. I don't even pretend to understand how the odds and all those things in Vegas are calculated. Are they really trying to say who's going to win and who's going to lose, or are they constantly moving that spread around because they want to invite more dollars into the pool of money that people are going to bet? So I can't say, but in my mind, it doesn't line up with what I've seen the last couple of weeks and how I think this game is going to turn out. Offense
has changed since you were playing, but I want to do this. I want to put you at that outside linebacker spot, and you are 100% healthy. And you get into a zone coverage situation where you have to cover either George Kittle or Travis Kelce. Which of those 2 would you rather cover?
Oh, I'm taking Kittle every time over Travis Kelce.
Really?
Travis Kelce's ability to find the hole and his connection with his quarterback is just off the charts. Maybe if Kittle was in Kansas City, he would have that same kind of connection between he and Patrick Mahomes. But so often when Travis Kelce is finding that hole in the zone defense, he's just beginning to turn around where Patrick Mahomes has already made the decision. The connection between those 2 is just off the charts, and that's what makes it so difficult to defend. Brock Purdy is not on that same level. He doesn't have the same level of experience. It would be difficult for him to be on that same level right now that Patrick Mahomes is, with the unspoken communication that needs to happen between a receiver and a quarterback when they're seeing the zone defense exactly the same way.
Chad, 30 seconds left. We're up against a hard break. I got to ask you, how much fun was it to watch the excitement return at your alma mater this year to Colorado football?
Oh, Coach Primus brought back a ton of excitement, for a program that I was worried about 5 or 10 years down the road that may not even be a program anymore. Kept losing coaches. It was a stepping stone kind of university. For Coach Primus to come in and solidify the program, to bring in the recruits that he has, the transfers that he has, the eyeballs, the attention, and plus those 3 wins last year really just, kind of sparked the nationwide interest. The community of Boulder and the university has brought in over $160 million due to the Coach Prime effect. That's massive.
Chad, thanks so much for your time. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Really